Okay, my keybinds for ops seem to have broken. That's nice. Right, as I've got a number of methods that now can return null values, such as this get by ID here, and name and such, I thought it would be a good idea to introduce a decorator which will take null JSON responses and turn them into 404 resource not found type exceptions responses. Yeah, so this is our to-do list. So we've got that which could return null, as could all these three. Yeah, so quite a few. It's not the kind of logic I want to implement on every single endpoint, so a decorator is a good idea for this. So, have I ever created? Yes, there is a decorator here actually. So it's going to take similar form to this, but in the content here we shall place this only on certain occasions. So as I don't want to have to remember all of this, I'll just copy that part. So we'll create a new class which is going to be our not found top. Call it middleware as they all are. We'll call it resource found middleware. Pardon me. Right. Import everything that's missing. That's a constructor. Good. So as normal, we shall just invoke next context. So this is a decorator that does nothing at the moment. And what we want to do is, rather than just invoke next, we shall invoke the next item and then inspect the content. So we'll say context dot let's get the response content type. We'll say if the response content type is application JSON, we shall do things. And I suppose we should actually do string.equals that. And just because I don't like how long that line is, we shall affect this into var is JSON response, and then split this over multiple lines. And we'll say if that is false, just return task.completed task. Although I suppose technically we should do this. Right, so below this line we now have things that are JSON. So yes, we want to say let's also check that we have the right status code first. Is this yes suck this. English is getting worse. Is that spelled right? These two S's. Oh, okay. What? I'm going mad. Yeah, okay. Right, so this is context response status code. It's there the is okay status code. I'd quite like to use the extension method that I think its HTTP client has on it. It has an is success status code for 200 and other things, but we don't seem to have access to that. Just compare it for integer value, HTTP status codes. Okay. I mean, we could check if it's in the 200 region as well. Say greater than equals 200 and less than or equals 299. But that'll do for now. So if it's not a JSON response, then we can return. If it is a JSON response, it's not success. So when we return a null, that's actually a success status code. So in fact, that's an OR. Get rid of that. And then here we now can inspect the body. We don't want to read the body, because if we read it and then it turns out that it has got data in it, we might have to reset the stream back at the beginning and it might not be a writable stream. So what we can do instead is var has content, do context.response content length is greater than equal to 0. No, we'll just do greater than 0 actually. And we can put that in there as well. Actually, no, let's leave that below. So we'll say if as content return task, and now have hopefully our block, which is successful JSON responses that don't have any content, which in our case is going to, we want to change into a 404, and we're assuming that all null JSON responses are 404 objects. So we will rewrite the context, so we'll take context.response status code equals int HTTP status code not found. I don't think we need to do that. Actually, let's have a look at HTTP status. There's a website called something like that. There we are. And if we look at 404, just want to know if the body has to be filled out or not. Indicate whether cacheable. No, it doesn't actually say. Give a link to the. Oh, there's the RFC. For origins of did not find. Not indicate whether the background is permanent or for cacheable. Doesn't say if the body has to be filled out or not. No, okay. There's nothing saying yes or no, so we shall leave it blank. And now we shall do return task completed. I guess we can return that task. Yeah, that probably works. We'll give it a quick test using the Restful API. But after we've done that, we shall actually test it properly. Where the hell do I register? Oh, there. Yeah, after that. After or before? After, I think. Yeah, because that can take care of requests that aren't valid before we even run them. So yeah, this way can work, I think. So that in. Run this application. While that's running, we shall start up rest test. Right. Pretty sure this is on port 500 anyway. Yeah. Localhost 5000. Right, and we're going to get a toggles, name, and we'll just make up a name. That doesn't really matter, there aren't any anyway. Oh, so that didn't work. Oh, decorator. Have a quick look. And this doesn't tell us how long the content was. Content length 4 bytes. I wonder if it's actually sending the word null back. It probably is. That's probably what's happening. In which case we need another way of checking. Suppose we could check for 4 bytes, although an empty array is also, well, that would be 2 bytes. Open square bracket and close square bracket. Oh well, we'll write some tests instead. I was hoping that was just going to work, but never mind. We need to write tests anyway, so might as well have some failing code to start with. So let's create a folder. It's going to be infrastructure, and in here we shall do, what did we call the class? It's not found middleware. Tests. So we shall create our new middleware. We'll just call that middleware. New resource not found middleware. And what dependencies do we take? Take a next request delegate. Was it a request delegate? Target. Do we want to do anything on here? Well, we need to invoke it and check that we actually got an invocation. Can end substitute on a delegate, I wonder. Or no idea if this will actually work. It'd be useful if it did, because then I could actually just check that it had been invoked. Yeah, we'll call it next. Have a field for it, and we'll do the same for that. We'll make them read only. See if the keyboard responded. Right, so let's write our tests. So the first one is when the response is not JSON, when response is not, where it will do is success, and no, when it is JSON and not success, when response JSON and success and null, and when response is JSON and success and has a value. Right, so those are our test cases. The easiest one to fill in is this one, I think. So we shall have a context available. Let's see, middleware dot spoken, and then a context. Text, new HTTP context. Text factory, what does that do? Have a look. That seems unnecessary. New HTTP context. Tell me private constructor. Right, if that's abstract, what inherits it? Lots of things. I really want to use inheritance. Right. Okay. Maybe it's an option on this then. Can you not navigate to options on this? Ah, derived. Yes, derived symbols. Default HTTP context. Okay, we'll try that. Okay, maybe. And let's try writing to this. Can I set the response? No. Right, so I'm going to assume it's already populated. JSON success and has a value. So status code equals int status code a context dot response content type application JSON context response content right to the content body equals new memory stream coding dot bait get bytes, and we'll give it some JSON. I don't know, a name, have a name property. Name. Right, and we need to validate that nothing's happened to this. So I guess context should what? I just can't type anymore, that's all it is. Might be the fact that I have no energy whatsoever left. Response status code should be. Suppose I have to. So we've got 3 conditions that we want to check. Status code. Content type won't change actually. Body though. Might wrap that up in a minute. Depends if I end up reusing other tests. In fact, we don't need that. I think. Sure if setting the body sets the content length. Default H response body. Do you not body? There we are. No, apparently not. That's interesting. In fact, we need to do this. Can I get the length of a stream without iterating it? Do this. Content. I can stick up there. So I'll do context.response. No. Response. What is going on today? It's definitely spelled right. Ah, context response. Content length. Content.length. Yeah, will do. Suppose I should technically await that. It is a task after all. Which means now that we're not touching the content, sure that we're not. Content length. Content length. Alright, I'm going to run these tests just because I want to know if my theory on default HTTP content actually working. Crispin.rest.tests. Clearly it doesn't. Or something doesn't anyway. Ooh, we've got a difference. Suppose thing to do is be to comment out the content of this for a sec. Rerun the test and just check that my assertion is a valid thing to have. I think that would probably be a good idea. for the actual implementation. Think. Look at the test. No, actually, you might be right. That might be a better way of doing it. This fails anyway. Can't compare memory streams directly. Oh, that's interesting. Right, so let's use Jebin's suggestion. So let's do this. Our content equals JSON convert serialize object new. We'll just make up something. Name equals Dave. JavaScript notation, probably not helpful here. And take out. You do the await right. That doesn't set the content type, does it? Right. And this, the overloads to that do. Okay, don't tell me what the overloads to that do. Coding, cancellation token. Don't care about either of those things really. Right. So yes, if we do private string read HTTP response, and we shall then do using var reader equals new stream reader response dot body sure if this is right. Is that going to do the text encoding for me? Oh, well, we'll find out in a minute. Yeah. So read context response. Content. Maybe. Ah. Okay. Let's not do it like that. Let's do using MS. Actually, can I do this? Stop body. Okay. Body read. I like to just read the whole thing, to be honest, rather than just read a byte. Okay. In which case, I shall cheat for the test and go using this equals new memory stream response dot. But no, hang on. Copy to return coding.utf8 toArray. And toArray I know ignores the position of the reading head in the memory stream. There has to be a nicer way of doing that. If it works, that would be a nice start. The hell? Okay, that's weird. I wonder if it's because that's leaving the read head at the very end. Fonts. Can I just do that? Would certainly explain the errors, but a bit like a hack. This doesn't work. I think a quick googling might be in order. Right, let's have a quick search. Net core 2 middleware testing middle. I'd have thought that response right was doing the flush, but testing and debugging section, but it doesn't cover middle. Ah, right. Okay, let's try flushing the content. Can't flush that. Okay, let's do testing. Text. That won't be done at core. I saw the word mock in that. Oh, that's too. What's an integration test package? I don't want to set up a test server, I just want to test a single thing. test it. And I could do, but it seems so over the top. Should just be able to pass an object in. And I can't debug it because Rider doesn't do debugging it. To be honest, what we can do instead of that, I mean, it's a sound idea, but why not do fonts, body, new stream. Write that. Give it an array. I think you can. Yes. Coding. Annoying thing is I can't tell if it's the setup or the assertion that's wrong. It could be either. But I have just thought of a way we can test that. Right, no need to flush it. Do that. It's essentially the reverse. A horrible way of writing it. Ah. Did we get further? We did. I'm going to tell us what is. Right. I'm sure that used to tell us exactly what the line was, but should be 15. Should be 15. Okay, I guess that's that. But I wonder. Well, actually, we just kind of proved that it was that. So context dot response to length equals body dot length. Does that iterate? Might do. Do that. Right. And then we'll wrap that up into a method if that works, so that I don't have to keep retyping it. And then once all the tests work, we can go back later and figure out if there's better ways of doing this instead. Right. So let's put that in a method. Fonts. Go up. Static. Oh, I think my lungs are actually going to give up on me. Name that read response. Right, so as horrible as that is, it actually works. So if actually let's leave the content of that commented out. I'm going to be setting up the same JSON content every single time, bar once. I might extract that. Yeah, we'll copy and paste for now. Right, so which JSON, success, and null. So in fact we don't have any content. Response should now be null, I guess, maybe. And the content length should be 0. Not sure what happens if you try and get a blank. You have a content.reader string async on the response. I don't think so. Have a look. Text.read. Nothing on the context. No, there's nothing on that, and no reads on the response either. Ton of shouldly type extensions, but nothing useful. Or maybe we can do it on that. Nope. Nope. No, unfortunately not. Alright. So yeah, I think we're going to have to leave it as that for now. Hopefully we can come back and there might be an extension method in another package somewhere that does it. Yeah. Right, so when the response is JSON, no, not that one, that one. Response is JSON. It is a status code and we have null. Which I guess is that. Text.response. No. Body length should be 0. Maybe. Try on that. Yeah, and this one, the not found status code on it. I just want to make sure this test passes because I'm not actually writing to the response, so it might be leaving the body stream null. Okay, that one's fine. Should be null, but it was null. Something was null. Can't tell what. Something was. One of these was null. Probably that one. Not sure if null and 0 mean the same thing for content length. Good, just the 400 that's wrong. 404, sorry. Right. So this is JSON and not success, so we don't want it to overwrite our stuff. So response is JSON. It's null, but the status code is going to be bad request. Why not? So we're not going to be touching for the body, and it should be a bad request. And then the final test case is going to be text XML. It's going to be an OK request, and we're going to write some body to it as well. Was there. But our content, we're just going to write some tag, and then we shall read the response like that. Content length. Yeah. Right. So most of those should fail. And we can go to actually implement the thing. The only downside to this not being a complete integration test is that we can't test the response of a JSON result returning null, which is kind of what we want to actually test, because our initial run of this didn't work because the body was 4 characters long, the word null. So, might have to actually write an integration test in a minute. And we never actually check the next thing. I guess we don't really need to for this. Right. So let's go into our thing here. And did our XML one fail? So much harder to read without actually being inside Visual Studio or something. JSON success and null. This is not JSON. What? Oh, copy paste there. So that test should actually pass because it's just checking we don't do anything, and by default we don't do anything. Sure, comment that. And we'll just implement the bare minimum, which is if it's JSON response false, return task. Failed. 4041. And now we'll take the success side of things, and we'll just do if is success false, return task. If we're not successful, we don't care. Next, we read the content length. If it has content, again, we don't care. If it doesn't have content, then it should be not found. Alright, so our middleware does work, except we know it doesn't. Which is partially down to that JSON response, or JSON result in the controllers. Don't have open. Where's our controller? So we're returning a JSON result, null, And I believe nothing's actually checking if it has a value in before serializing it. Whatever our JSON result executor is. Can I just do that? Yep. Execute async. Status code off the result. Otherwise, don't do anything. Grab the serializer, create a writer. Earth does it actually write to the body? Oh, response body. It just serializes the value, which in our case will be null. What I'm thinking is we have a couple of choices. The first one is to update our middleware to look for a fake null. So we're going to need to check if the content contains the which are basically going to need to do if context response content body equals null, because that's what's coming through. Or we can not use the JSON result class and wrap it in our own, which will deal with nulls. So we could do something, because these are all iAction results, we could say effectively wrapping up if response toggle is null, then return that. Otherwise return not found. But I don't want to implement that in every single method. I want a decorator to take care of it. The other option is, rather than using a middleware, no, that wouldn't work either. I was going to say we could wrap the controller itself in a decorator, but we'd actually have to intercept every method. Unless there is a way to spin a core to intercept methods. Controller. No, we want an action decor or an action filter maybe. Maybe use an action filter. Not what the signature for one is though. It's P to core to filter. Override. Yeah, that could work. So rather than doing that, we have our own. End up with our own base class, but protected. Do private. Action results. JSON. Object value. Essentially put that in it. Value. JSON response toggle. Oh, you meant like that? Let's have a look. Lost it IntelliType. So what do we have here? We do have the result. That would do it. But what happens if I don't want to put that in for every single controller? I mean, I've only got one controller to start with, but... So let's do this. Put that back in there. Effectively, null and context result type of, cannot write syntax for that. Maybe it just is. JSON result. Actually, we can do a cast for that because we'll that. So if JSON is not null, if JSON value do that. If it is null, I love nulls. Yes, I think a common base controller would be the way to do this. It's a shame, I prefer the idea of decoration because I don't view this as the controller's responsibility, but at the same time, apparently implementing a decorator is not quite as straightforward as I was hoping. What we shall do is, if that is null, we shall do context result. Oh, that works. To do anything else on it? That. Let's remove our middleware. Run the application. See what happens. Should probably remove this hello world as well at some point. As nice as it is to say hi to the world. Rest tester. Right, that should be fine. Hey, now we get a 404 not found. Cool, that was much quicker to implement with with that method than it was. Yeah, let's see. So now that that works, let's see if we can write an action filter instead. Just need to know what the syntax is for, or the blah blah blah. Implement iAction filter. Ah, and you just get the same method, but on a filter level rather than on a controller level. Right, and how do you put them into the pipeline? Ah, in the options. Okay, let's try doing that. Take that. And we'll go back to our resource not found middleware and delete everything because it's horrible and doesn't work anyway. We'll do public class json not found filter by action filter async action filter. I'll just do that for the time being. Not going to do anything in that. That will do this. Can I just create a new one of those instead? New not found. Oh, I can. New. Require any parameters? Context. Probably that. Not? Okay. Right, so now that we've got a filter, I don't know what I'd do without you, Jobin. Let's do this. Oh. Well, I'd have probably got them there in a few days. Can you tell that I don't do web development very often? How was it? Options.filters. Hang on, that was configure services, not configure. Right, let's see if that works. Test rest. And with luck, that action filter might be a bit easier to test as well. Yay, we got a 404. Hurrah. Well, that's the best of both worlds. It's a shame I have spent the whole evening trying to make a decorator when it wouldn't work. But, you know, this is why we mess around with these kind of stuff in our spare time, so that when we actually have to implement things for, you know, real world usage, they actually can be done in a reasonable amount of time. Action filter, rename, file type, and now we'll try and create some tests and see what happens. Tests. Right, door filter equals new one of those. Yes, import the missing references, create a field, journey, fact. When the response is JSON. Is JSON. Just thought that we haven't actually done everything we should have done here, like checking if the status code. Because at the moment, any null value that's JSON will be. Actually, that might be right. Would you ever want a JSON response that was null to not be for it? Maybe. JSON is populated. So, in fact, when the response is null. And I think once I've done this, I'll have to call it a night because my lungs are killing me. And I'm trying desperately not to cough down the microphone. On executed. Right, so we need a context, some form. Hopefully we can just construct this without having to do silly things. Action executed needs an action context, a list of the metadata, and object controller. Oh, I don't like attributes as it is. I'm only begrudgingly using them in a controller because that was the easiest way to do it. Don't know. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I don't like attributes very much. I'd much rather be using the Fixie test framework because then I don't have to have fact written anywhere either. I don't know. Maybe I'm just old and cranky and all this metaprogramming irritates me. I'll do action text equals new action context. Well, you can have a new list. Nothing in it, and that. Wanted something. It's not going to tell me what it wanted, but object controller. Do I need to specify the controller? Maybe. I'll just put null in there for the time being. If it blows up, we'll do something about it. Right, so when the response is not JSON, so context result equals XML result. Oh, okay. String result. I don't know what kind of result to use. Empty result, created result. Content result. Sounds about right. Is that async? No. So context.result should be go away. Type content result. No matter what the type is, I guess. Just want to check that it's not been overridden. Let's just check those work, because I'm not entirely convinced. Maybe it does need a controller filling out. Value cannot be null. Parameter name, HTTP context. That wasn't what I was expecting. Context structure. Pulls that one eventually. Action content. What? So I'm calling that method. It's apparently doing that. So now we're still what? Terminal line. That's definitely the action context constructor. Hang on, 2 dots. Maybe not. What can't be null? HTTP context. Okay. What's the next thing that can't be null? Root data. You want to bet none of this can be null? Yeah, I'm thinking none of this can be null. Action descriptor. Yeah. Let's just fill it all out. Oh, that's better. Right. So let's do that. That's not actually. Right, we're going to move all of that out of the way. This bit. Down here. That can be a field instead. Those on multiple lines. Right, and now that just becomes that, which is much more pleasant. Good. So our next test, when it is populated JSON, new JSON result, new name, Dave, should be a JSON result. And when it's null JSON, JSON result, null, should be of type not found result. Now we've lost the checks on whether the JSON result coming back is success or not. I'm fine with it, I think. Trying to figure out what this notification is because you click it and it just disappears. Not unhappy with me. Probably actually complaining that there's lots of data leaving my laptop. Hey, it looks like you're streaming, are you sure? Yes, I am. Right. We added MVC. We added filters to that one. We don't need. Crispin, rest. Oh. Yep, we can go. So we do that. So we have some tests and a new JSON not found action filter. So rest add action filter for null JSON bomb B404. Cool. Well, that took a little longer than I was expecting, but hey, that's life. What time is it? Nearly bedtime. Right, so I think that'll do for this evening. Thank you, Jobin, for your help on that lot. Otherwise, I'd have been tearing what's left of my hair out the rest of the evening. yeah, I still don't like attributes. I'm still not a huge fan of ASP.NET Core, but at least we've been able to actually use a decorator type pattern in the end. Yeah, and I think tomorrow, if we go and look at this, I think we shall implement the rest of the tags endpoint and then make it work for the name alias of the ID as well. And then we get on to the interesting stuff of managing statistics. And what statistics? Or maybe, before we do statistics, might want to deal with the user ID, which will be a decorator again. Or possibly go on to doing the UI, so we can actually define what statistics we're going to want to show, because we'll draw a UI. But yeah, that's stuff to play around with tomorrow. So thank you for watching. If you've got any questions, Twitch chat or Twitter or on GitHub @Ponderdom on everything. Thanks for watching and have a good evening.